Hey guys, I realize I'm not doing this at my normal time, but I still have shingles, and so I've pretty much accepted that I'm going to be on a less than stellar schedule until I get over it. So I'm pretty much stuck doing this shit while I'm up. And so, anyway, thank you for coming. Um, okay. So today's Atheist Church is about people must clean up their own messes. Okay. So, I've heard, I'm an ex Christian, just in case you don't know. Okay. Ex Christian turned agnostic atheist. And, I've heard so many times, well, you're an atheist because you just want to sin. Well, no. If you think that, that's dishonest as fuck. Okay. Because if you think that, you've never really talked to an atheist. And if you have talked to an atheist, you haven't listened. Okay? Second of all, most atheists, I don't know about all atheists, but most atheists, like me, don't even believe in the concept of sin. Because it is a control mechanism for idiots in the church to control you. That's what it is. I call them like I see them. It's a control mechanism. There's no hey, Lisa. There's no such thing as sin, people. Hey, do you know me? No such thing as sin. Okay? So, no, I'm not an atheist because I want to sin. If I wanted to sin, okay, I would be a Christian. Because as an atheist, I am responsible for myself. I am responsible for every fucking thing I do. But Christians, on the other hand, Christians think that they can sin all they want, okay? And I mean, like, do like just the most god awful things, okay? Let's just get that straight. They think they can do the most god awful things, and at night ask God for forgiveness, wake up in the morning, do it all over again, and that night ask God forgiveness again. And it doesn't really matter if they sin. Because all they ever have to do is, oh God, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. No, that's fucking moronic. Hey, Atlarky, not you. Not you. I know you better than that. Talking about most Christians. Hey, Atlarky. But yeah, I mean, I know you're not the kind like this, so I'm not talking about you. So anyway, Um, ain't that the fucking truth, Lisa? Yeah. And, another thing that I think is like hilarious and oh so sad at the same time, right? Is, you know, they'll say that genocide is wrong. We all know that genocide's wrong, okay? But then you point out that according to their book, God said, or God made a genocide of the whole fucking world except 8 people, which makes no fucking sense, okay? But anyway, moving on. Um, so, yeah, somehow, if God does the fucking wrong thing, it's right. Um, I'd like to hear your reasoning on that one. I really, really would. If God does it, it's fine. God can do the most fucking wrong thing on the face of the planet. And for some reason, if he does it, not that I believe in God, okay? But they do. So let's roll with it, right? And, you know, but, if he does the most wicked thing on the face of the earth, it's fine. Because God did it. We can't judge God. Fucking hell, we can't judge God. Not that there's a God to judge, but anyway, you know what I mean. You know, and if you think that you need a God to keep from killing people, you are not a good person. The only thing that keeps you from being a fucking horrible person would be religion. That does not make you a good person. That does not make you a good person. Now, you know, if you want to yell at me in the comments about that, that's fine. I read all the comments, you know. I don't really police the comments, you know. Um, the only things that I will ever delete are like bot comments, you know. Hey, Limited. I agree, Atlarky. I agree. Yeah, 100% there with you, bro. 100% there. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. I call it like I see it, okay? And if you don't like that, you can go fuck yourself. Most of my subscribers like me because I call it like it is. They like straight laced people. So, um, I think I'm going to open it up and have a conversation on this topic. So, anyone who wants to come in can. And yeah, I mean, if you need religion to be good, you're a very fucked up person. Enough said. Um, let's see. I agree, Atlarky. Why don't you come on in here, buddy? Yeah, you're making excellent points. Why don't you come in here and, you know, we can, you don't have to make uh, comments in the comment section. Okay, sure. Gotcha. Um, so, anyway, anyone else who wants to come in can. It's no big deal. Um, but yeah, I just watched Halloween, and believe it or not, I'd never watched it before. That was a seriously fucked up movie. I mean, seriously fucked up. A 6-year-old kills his sister. Now, and of course, the psychiatrist didn't think it was a 6-year-old. The psychiatrist thinks it's a demon or whatever. And I'm like, whatever, dude. Hey, big zebra. Uh, it's okay, limited. Just anybody who wants to can. You know, it's no big deal. Um, but yeah, Halloween was a seriously fucked up movie. And then I don't know if any of you've seen Halloween, but 15 years later, okay, this occurred on Halloween night when Michael Myers um, killed his sister when he was like 6 years old. And 15 years later, they're taking him from the secure hospital, from the secure mental hospital, um, to have a hearing because it's the law, because he's 21 and, it's the law that he has to have a hearing um, when he's 21, right? So they're transporting him to the county jail so he can have his hearing. And he just, I, they go, well, they're not even transporting him yet. They're going to the hospital, right? They're going to the mental hospital and the criminally insane, the place for the criminally insane, right? So they're going there to pick him up to transport him to the jail, and they see patients. Hey, big zebra. They see
Hello
patients.
there.
They see patients wandering around, and the the lady who's accompanying the psychiatrist says, do they always let patients just wander around? And the psychiatrist is like, "Oh my god!" It's like, stop the car," you know. And anyway, no, they don't do that. He knows exactly uh who's responsible for this, and he's like the most dangerous patient in the hospital. So anyway, so he gets out and then he goes back to the town where he had killed his sister, and he, you know, this is Halloween again, right? Which is why it's called Halloween. Anyway, uh, it's crazy. It's crazy. Go watch it for yourself if you want to. What you doing, Big Zebra?
Well, I heard someone talking about criminal psychopathy, so I thought I'd come in. Not that I'm an expert or anything, but the thing that I have trouble with these Michael Myers, Halloween, uh, um, Crystal Lake, Friday the 13th movies is that they
Mhm.
can start out as legitimately scary, but
Mhm.
then the killer becomes magical, so they can suffer any injury and come back, and the terror always continues. And I think that's just I think it then it turns the movies into sort of a joke. Like, can he kill someone with a corkscrew? Yes, he can. Can he kill someone by giving them a paper cut? Sure. And it just goes on and on. And it, I don't find them scary at all. I don't know what it is. I think it's just a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I got on this topic because the subject of the day is people have to clean up their own messes, and Christians always want to, you know, Christians always want to say, "Well, you're just an atheist because you want to sin." No, you
Mm.
goddamn fool! If I wanted to sin, I'd be a goddamn Christian. You
Yes,
know.
because sin is a concept in Christianity. It's not a concept in atheism because there's no
Well,
God to sin against.
correct. But not only that, even if there was a sin concept, you know, in the universe, not just atheism or whatever, right? Even if there was a sin concept, right? If
Mm,
I wanted to do that, I'd be a Christian because I could go sin all day, whatever the fuck that means, right? And then at the
mm.
end of the day, I'm ready to go to bed. God, please forgive me. God wipes the slate clean, and I get up the next morning and do it all again.
Well, for Catholics, you don't get away with that. You have to go to a priest. And even then, the priest says at the end of confession, "For these and all your sins, for which you are truly sorry, you are forgiven." And of course, if you are sinning every day of the week and then asking for forgiveness, then doing the same thing over again, you're clearly not truly sorry. So, no forgiveness for you, but
Well,
that's
see, the
just
Protestants aren't like that.
you have general absolution, right? As a Protestant, you can go to church and the minister absolves you as a group.
Well, I mean, not even the minister. I mean, it's just between you and God.
Oh,
I mean, it could be different in like the Anglican church or the Episcopal church, but
mm.
for the most part, except for the spin-offs of the Catholic Church, like the mainstream Protestantism, it's just between you and God.
Oh, okay. Well, so I guess the question comes: how does a Protestant know if they've been forgiven or not? After all, it's a request, right?
Right. Oh, who the hell
I
knows?
don't know.
I
It's
know
Atlan.
because I was back. I was both in a semi-Protestant thing, and now I'm currently in an older church than Catholicism. At least I like to say that because we didn't have the Counter Reformation and we didn't get a pope who asked for money in
Greek
exchange
Orthodox,
for.
maybe?
Yeah, I am, or not Greek Orthodox. I'm Polish Orthodox.
Oh, okay.
It's not like every ethnicity has a separate church, but
No.
every group of Orthodox people is a bit independent. It doesn't really matter too much in this conversation.
Hmm.
Just remember that there is no such thing as an Orthodox Pope, and the hierarchy is much more independent and smaller. I don't know how to, but bit
There are,
wider, but not
yeah.
so tall. Let's just say that.
Well, what are the traditions again? There's Coptic Christianity, Orthodox Greek, Russian Orthodox, and
I mean,
I know the
Greek Orthodox
Armenians.
and Russian Orthodox is the same thing.
It is?
Yeah, would they
Well,
have communion?
okay. Well, technically, a Greek Orthodox priest can serve as a Catholic priest. You just sort of fill out a
No,
form.
you have to pledge allegiance to the Pope as an Orthodox in
Yes.
order to become. And if you do that, you're excommunicated from Orthodoxy. But it
Oh,
doesn't really
no.
matter in this conversation because we're not talking about Pope versus the other patriarchs. We are talking about people making a
Actually, that would
mess.
be a really great um, mixed martial arts event. You get the Archbishop over here, the Pope over there, and you let them have it out. You know, uh,
It would be less fun than you think. They would just start arguing and debating, and then one of them will say, "I'm not talking to you," and leave, and that's it.
oh, that's too bad. I no, I wanted them to wrestle it out and not verbally, but to
It
throw
wouldn't be
some hits.
applicable in the context of Christian fights, of church fights, and doesn't really
Mm,
apply.
mm.
There was an
Okay.
attempt,
So
but okay, let's not change the topic. I think Lisa had a
no,
great topic in mind, and we're just
I'm sorry.
changing it.
I'm sorry. So what is the Orthodox position on this?
The Orthodox position is that every human is born with sin because sin is not just an action; it is the disposition to not be perfect. Because everything that's not perfection is sin in itself. So humans are sin in themselves. We have that in ourselves. So even after you go to confession, and after you are sorry for all the sins. Let's say the best case scenario, you go to a confession, you tell all the sins you didn't forget any of them,
Mm.
and you did like real repentance, and you're not gonna do them again. This is the best case scenario, which is almost impossible because some of the sins are like I was looking at a woman who didn't want me to look at her, and I was thinking bad things about her, and that was weird. I shouldn't have done that. This is also
Mm.
a thing. So you're probably gonna do that if you have sexual interests and there are nice-looking women around you, which is not like a reason to do that and keep doing it and say it's okay. But it's probably gonna happen at some point. But let's do the best case scenario. You still remain with the sin, the disposition to do bad things because
Oh, so you
humans
Okay.
do have
naturally.
confession in your tradition then, as a
What?
sacrament. Do you have confession, a confessional, in your religious tradition?
Do you mean
What's your
the box in which Catholics go to confess?
No, I
yes?
think he just means the act.
Well, yeah, just one-on-one with a priest. It doesn't have to
We
be
do
in a
have
box.
the act of confession, but it does
Yeah.
not have to be one on one with the priest. I'm going to
Okay.
explain
Okay.
that in a moment.
So
And
in
we don't have the weird box which you do that at.
so in Orthodoxy as well as in Catholicism, there has to be real repentance in order for your sin to be forgiven, your sin to be forgiven. Is
Yes, and
that
there is a rule that if the sin involves the priest you're confessing to, he cannot speak about it. He has to tell you to go to a different one. Like for example, if you go to a priest and you say, um, I had sex without marriage, for example, and he had as well, he cannot. give you forgiveness for that. He will have to tell you you have to go to a different priest.
Oh,
And if you did it with him, then he has to go with you.
If you
And
had
okay.
sex with a
he
priest,
is
you have
temporarily
to go to another
suspended from
priest.
being a priest, and he has to go with you to confession.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, there are priests that have sexual relations. I mean, just because
Well,
they're
my
priests
priest has a
doesn't mean.
wife and two children, so that's a thing. That's completely normal. But when you have like 20
Oh, I
women who
didn't
don't
know
know
that,
about one
and
another,
yeah, I didn't know that was allowed in Orthodoxy.
it
But
is.
you guys separated from the Catholic Church before the celibacy became a thing, right?
That's a bigger issue because Catholics say we separated, we say they did. But it's that's because we say they made changes without asking the rest, and they said
Hmm.
we didn't apply changes which the Pope had the right to apply.
Well, I mean, I didn't mean it like that.
I know you're not part of the whole bone between the two, so
Right. But so you so however it happened, the Catholics and the Orthodox separated before the celibacy and the Catholic Church became a thing.
yes, and for a long time after that happened, Catholics still didn't have compulsory celibacy.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
it's relatively recent. I can't remember when the celibacy rules started. Maybe I'll look
I
that
can
up.
tell you why this started and
I
generally when they started.
I think it was around the 1400s or the 1500s
Yes,
because it was like it had something to do with inheritance, I think.
yes, because the it's dumb, but I will tell you. The idea is that a lot of mm, princes and highborn people would be born like a lot of children would be born to highborns and people with a lot of land. And in order not to partition like the entire country just because you have seven sons from two different women, which officially one of them doesn't exist, they made a law that only the oldest son, in some countries, not in all, that only the oldest son inherits things. So if you knew as a son that you're like, for example, 60th in the line, there's no chance you're going to be the king of France or something. So you went to be a priest because they have some kind of authority, which means you were a corrupted priest because you didn't actually want to help people. You didn't have to actually believe in any of that. You just wanted some kind of power because you're not going to be the king as your father was.
Mm.
So, in order so the corrupted priests don't just steal the land of the church and give it to their children, Catholics decided to make compulsory celibacy for everyone who wants to be a priest and partake in owning some of the church land. So a pope can choose anyone who owns any church land, and they can even move you to a different place if they don't like you enough. In Orthodoxy, it was changed like it was just said that the priest does not own the church, the community does. He is just an administrator. He has his own house, a separate thing.
Yeah.
And even if you are a monk and you live in a monastery, no single monk owns it. The entire community of the monastery does. And
Oh, I didn't know Orthodoxy had monks and nuns.
we have literally a monastic republic.
Oh, okay. You can tell how much I know about Orthodoxy.
Well, I will tell you, you know more than most people in the West. Well, most people in the West are like, Orthodox, you mean those old school Protestants?
Oh, wow.
No.
Yeah, that's completely wrong.
Yeah.
And that is why a lot of conversations with, well, not with like so far, not in this channel and not in the 420 cafe, which I've been invited to by Krishna and many other people.
Hmm.
So those places are really good. Oh, thanks for giving the correct dates. I am not like perfect with them. Sorry for that.
No
Too many
worries.
calendars
There's
to keep up with.
what is it now? The Orthodox traditions tend to have a really remarkable monastic life, and
Yes,
also meditation and
yes,
isolation if required, as I recall.
yeah. That's because Orthodox believe that religion is not about the law as much as it is about mysticism and personal relations with the deity you believe in. So we believe in Christ, obviously, as our God, but well, we just believe in general that if you simply follow the law, that's following the law, but it's not religious. And religion is not about just following the law. So we had usually like, and then let's say in an example of Rome, there was an empress or an emperor of Rome who gave law for the regular people, and the church didn't enforce any laws. They would suggest things to the emperor and lawgivers, but they would simply care about the people and their spiritual needs. This was like it's called in English a rule of synergy, that they walk besides one another, they don't interlock. Uh, but they do help one another if needed. Like for example, if there was a pandemic, a bit too relatable at the moment. But when there was a pandemic of the Dark Plague, the church would fund hospitals,
Hmm.
or would even give cathedrals for free for hospitals. A lot of monks knew medical thing, not as much as Muslims and Jews, but still
Yeah.
a lot more than the commoner would know.
So let me ask you this. You may not know this, and if you don't, that's fine.
Okay,
But
sorry for eating bananas. I just got them from
no,
my grandma.
it's fine. I don't care.
Is it
Um,
an Orthodox banana or is it one of those Protestant bananas?
um.
Considering whom gave it to me, it's probably a Jehovah's Witness banana.
So is Orthodoxy the same throughout the world? In other words, is like Polish Orthodoxy the same as Russian Orthodoxy?
I mean, no. There are different groups of Orthodox churches. Like, for example, I am in the Eastern Orthodox Church group, which is consists of Polish Orthodox, Greek Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, Romanian Orthodox, Bulgarian Orthodox, and a lot of different groups. But each of those groups has different traditions that are local. Like, for example, even such things as dates of celebrations are different between traditions, depending on which calendar you're using to calculate when a holiday happens. And in Poland, we use two at the same time to make things easier.
Well, the Polish language is confusing, so why not have more confusing stuff?
Yeah,
Uh,
obviously. Makes
uh,
sense. I mean, makes life easier. If you're used to confusing things, then like
I mean,
keep them
it,
confusing.
it's the Polish language is probably easy for you because you grew up with it, but it it's not easy for other people.
There is a sound in the Polish language which I cannot physically make. And I'm stuck being born a Polish person, so there's like a
Yeah.
hard R sound, and I can't make it. Where you are supposed to wobble your mouth to make it like sound like a motorcycle. I cannot
Oh,
do that.
like a
Not a that's a H sound.
okay, that would be a French R, by the way.
Yeah,
Is it like the way
like
the Scottish roll their
this
R?
sound, but sounding like a motorcycle.
Ah, like a
Uh,
Yeah, like that. But you have to do it with your tongue, and I cannot do that because my mouth is built weird.
I don't think
okay.
I can do it either.
Yeah, most people can't, but in Poland it's required, and unless you can make it, you are going to the doctor to learn about it. I did go, and the doctor said there's no hope at this moment. You're just making yourself and me mad. Go home.
Mm, I like that.
Yeah.
That was
Maybe you could
encouraging.
carry around a little speaker with you, and with whenever you had to make that sound, you just press a button, and it would go, "Rrr," and then you finish the rest of the word.
Hey, Krishna. Sorry for
Hey,
not singing
Krishna.
for you last time we were on 420, but you went to sleep. Why was celibacy enforced? Simple answer. Catholic Church didn't want the priests to inherit the land they were given from the church.
Mm.
And they didn't want to give it to the community either because the Pope owns it. And because there was tradition of giving it to the people below you, they had to give it to someone else because the Pope cannot rule the entire land the church owns. But he wanted to, just couldn't do it directly. So that was a money thing, if you need to know.
That's the first time I've ever heard of a native person not being able to make a sound in their native
That is
language.
because I have a physical disposition to make a certain sound.
Gotcha.
Like
Uh,
your
n- n-
the upper part.
I'm not picking on you, by the way.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Like even people in my country are picking on me for that. You're really not. So the upper part of your mouth is supposed to be straight, but in my case it's curved like this, so I cannot put my tongue where it's supposed to be when you make that sound because I don't have that roof where it should be.
Okay. There are still some sounds in German that I'm trying to master. I don't know whether I'm ever going to master them,
I
but
agree with Krishna on the authentic reason for celibacy, and in uh, in Eastern Christianity, this is the only reason that you're supposed to do that. If you want to also like renounce your old life, you can also do that. Like make a vow that you're a new person now. You refuse to be the person you used to be, and then you go into like this not only celibacy, but like you go to a monastery to live alone, or you live alone completely without even a monastery. That's a completely. I know that in Hinduism it also exists as an idea, the idea of spiritual isolation. That some people just in modern society, I guess you could do a different thing, like uh, no sex for you, you can have riches. It is like no, I wouldn't say you can have them, but they will not go to your children. The church will keep owning them. This is the way.
mm. Well, since we're on the topic of sex, n-
Oh
did,
no.
did it didn't mean to go there, but I don't know
Oh, yes,
where.
you went there.
Oh, okay. So
Leave her
anyway,
alone.
I
She's
I
fine.
I don't know why.
Sure.
I don't know where the idea that sex is naughty came up because it's not a Jewish thing. I mean, it's totally not a Jewish thing. And
Um, I can speak both for Jehovah's Witnesses because I used to be one. Maybe they changed their
uh-huh.
doctrine since I left because they tend to do that. So you'll have to check twice for it. And I can talk about Orthodox people. So I will start with the. Do you want me to start with the positive or the negative example?
It doesn't
Mm,
matter.
So starting with the Orthodox Church, which I see as the positive example, sex is a good thing. And the reason why there is a marriage and all of that around it is because everybody sees it as a good thing. So you're supposed to celebrate it and make it individual, romantic, and all of that. But there is a thing people in the modern world don't say because, well, it's not allowed anymore. But back in the day, there was the country called the Khazar Empire, where modern Eastern Ukraine is. A bunch of like Altaic and Turkish people who converted by themselves mainly to Judaism, but also to Islam and Christianity. And if you open their graves, historians do that, and they do. If you open their graves, they will have like the tons of those artifacts, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, and as far as a Muslim being buried, I'm gonna get to it why it's surprising. For a Muslim, it's not surprising because it would be expected even for some people. Finding a Christian or finding a Jew buried like that is surprising to a lot of modern Christians and modern Jews. They had many wives, and they shared one tomb with them because family is supposed to be together forever. Nice, Krishna. Enjoy it. That's a really good feeling to have. It's a good kind of love if you just feel it for everyone. Sorry for getting off topic. It's too easy for me to just respond to them.
It's okay. I do it too.
It is very much celebrated in Orthodoxy as a good thing because you're making life the way God intended. Unless you're cheating on people or having sex with people who are not ready for marriage, because marriage back in the day was simply a contract. I'm not even joking. In Orthodoxy back in the day, marriage was a contract you made with your partner that you're gonna care for them for the rest of your and their life combined.
Gotcha.
So you did a contract like I'm gonna care for you, and they signed I'm gonna care for you as well forever. And after you do that contract, you wait until you're adults because not always adults had to be the ones to sign it because medieval times and all that fun stuff happened, and ancient times as well. But Orthodox Church had a rule that you had to be an adult to actually consume marriage and do the whole ritual. So they waited until you were an adult, which varied culturally. In Poland, that was like 16 years old. Back in medieval times, that was a very old age to be considered an adult. And don't dig much into it if you look into different cultures and how old you had to be to go and marry someone in different cultures. Back in the day, you're gonna get like weird vibes from cultures that are now very, very progressive and stuff. But anyway, 16 years old was old.
Here in America, you can marry as young as 14 if you have your parents' permission. But I think you can marry at 16 without your parents' permission, but I'm not sure. But definitely
in Orthodoxy, at the age of 16, you could sign the contract yourself and get married yourself. Before that, you could only sign the contract but not really get married. You have to wait until you're older because in order to be considered an adult, you have to be able to physically and mentally care about a family. And back in the day, without 16 was old. Back in the day, because 30 was like a grandpa.
Yeah, Lisa. They didn't live very long back then. So
unless you were Jewish, but let's not get into conspiracy theories. Jews just had proper medical things. That's why they lived long. They washed their hands and all of that good things. And a lot of people didn't know why that worked, so they didn't just copy them. Polish people did, but it still didn't work all the time. But going back to...
I think so, limited light.
Yeah. I know for a fact that it does because I know people from states where it's like 12 is fine. And there are states when it's like, you're 18, you cannot marry yet. Have to wait. And America's fun about laws. That's fun, very much. You go to a different city and the law is completely different. No idea what's happening. Anyway.
Yeah.
Back on the topic. So it is very much celebrated, but it has to be protected. Like, you cannot have sex with someone you're not caring to care for children for because it was invented back in the ancient times where I don't know how to say it nicely, so condoms were not a thing, and they were later on a thing, but they were known to not work properly all the time, and they were known to carry diseases, so the church said it's bad. Most of the churches say it's still bad because it still can carry them if you use them wrong. Most people learn how to use them before they do that. If you do that without knowing, you're a dumb person.
Well, at Larky, not here in the southern states, because we have some dumb sons of bitches in the southern states that are like, if people learn how to use condoms properly, they're going to be having sex all over the place and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what the fuck? Pardon
I
my
mean,
language.
I mean, it's applicable here. It's not really like a slur. You're talking about the subject.
So, I mean, it's like, okay, yeah, but I mean, you got horny teens, right? And
Yeah.
if they're gonna have sex anyway, might as well have
I mean,
safe
it
sex.
is better to prevent them from getting venereal diseases and make children that they're gonna drop in the bins. I still do
Exactly.
not condone that kind of activity because you're not mentally ready for that kind of relationship. And that is
Well,
why
no,
I
I mean, I'm not saying you are like even emotionally prepared for that, but I mean, if
it's
if
better to
horny
offer that
teenagers,
kind of
yeah,
protection than
I
give
mean,
them
if
protection they will just refuse. Like if you tell them don't have
yeah,
sex and they will just refuse, then you
if
say at
horny
least use
teenagers,
this.
right, if horny teenagers are gonna do it anyway, I mean, prepare them for it,
I
you
mean,
know?
I am also biased on the topic because I am asexual.
I'm
So,
I'm also asexual, so, it doesn't really matter to me
so like I
one way
said,
or
there
Well,
is.
another.
I stand in contrast to you both. This is appalling. Just kidding.
Well, I don't mind people who want to have sex all the time. I mean,
I mean, my
it doesn't
priest
matter to me. As long
and
as it's consensual, as long as it's between two consenting adults, I don't really give a shit.
I mean, my priest has a wife, and I'm not joking, and she's not joking. When it's the
Hmm.
time for him to not have sex with her at night in order to make the rituals in the morning, she's really frustrated the next day until they are back in home. And she's not hiding it one bit. And I mean, it's romantic in a way because they they do it consensually and they are loving each other and they have two children not because like an accident happened. They were just having love a lot of times, all the time. And it's in a
Yeah,
weird way, even for an asexual who wouldn't do that, if they really love it and if they want to do it and both sides have an agreement on how to do it, it's romantic in a weird way. You are also asexual. Nice. I was banned in the LGBT community, not for being Christian, for being asexual. Thanks.
That's awful.
That sucks, but doesn't matter.
So,
I don't mind.
so you got banned for not wanting to do something.
Yes.
That's odd.
Yes.
oh, nevermore, you're not a worthless piece of shit because you're bi. I know you're traumatized into believing that, but you're not.
Nah, I don't think so.
I know it. I know there's a lot of garbage you bring into uh, that ex-religious people bring with them out of religion, but you know.
The
Anyway,
weirdest thing when it comes to being like bigender and asexual for me is that the first place that accepted me that way was the Orthodox Church, which is
mm,
surprising because the priest said if I am asexual, then maybe God is calling me to being a monk, and I do have a fantasy about being a monk. Like if I'm not a monk in D&D or paladin or cleric, I'm gonna be grumpy. Because I like the kind of I am not a Christian because I want to be right all the time, or I'm not Christian because I want an eternal reward for living forever. I am a Christian because I enjoy the traditions and I want that kind of life, even if there is nothing for me at the end of it. I
yeah,
still want that, and
and
being
see
that
that,
kind of
and that's fine. If you're a Christian for those reasons, that's fine, you know. But
If
if
I can,
you're,
oh, sorry.
go ahead, Zebra.
Oh, well, I was going to intrude and talk about how much I enjoy going into Protestant Christian chat rooms like on YouTube and talking incessantly about bake sales and the bargains that can be had, as if that was the only bonus of being a Protestant, and how much I like lemon squares and brownies, and there's
I
some.
mean,
I would
my
talk and talk about it until they'd get really angry. Sorry, go ahead, Alan. Did we mute Alan somehow?
sorry, no. I muted myself because my grandma entered, and I wanted to make sure she doesn't walk into the camera because she is in pajamas, and
Mm,
that would be embarrassing for her and me, and I don't want that for anyone. So
okay.
sorry for not listening to you, but
No, a lot of
I
people do
remember
that,
the
and they're
beginning of
they're
the topic.
happier for it. I was
My
talking about. Sorry, go ahead.
my our Orthodox godfather has a joke, and in a weird way, I agree with the joke beyond just a joke.
Hmm.
That Catholic Church began because there was a guy in Rome who wanted to have absolute power.
Hmm.
It's a joke, and I mean I don't want to insult a leader of a country of Vatican because I am legally not allowed to do that in Poland. So I don't mean to insult the
I,
current guy. I just mean like back in the day when it's all was happening slowly, there were a
I,
lot of
okay. I'm sorry, Atlarky. I thought that was Caesar that wanted the power in Rome.
yes, but I mean later when Pope was a guy.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I know
Yes,
what you're
I know.
talking about, but
So that's why he says in a joke that that's why it happened, and Protestants happened because everybody wanted to be his own pope.
For Catholics, the reason for the papacy, at least just as regards our feelings, we have.
Are you a
In,
Catholic, by the way?
oh, well, I used to be a Catholic. I'm an atheist.
Mm.
But from my background, I can tell you that there's a feeling as a Catholic, no matter how large your church is, that when people split off, you get fragmentation of religion. And then, so we see all the various Protestant churches as fragments of heresy.
Yeah.
And we don't call them heretics, but we just think of them as mistaken. And there are dozens and dozens and dozens of them. And so, simultaneously, the church's biggest strength and its biggest weakness is a reluctance to change. So, if
I
you're a
mean,
Catholic, you feel anger at the magisterium for not adjusting, and then at the same time, you feel a bit hoity-toity about all these other Christians who believe in whatever they like and just open up a new church with a different, slightly different theology.
with if you say Catholics are reluctant to change anything, you
The
don't know about
churches,
Orthodox Church history and how reluctant they were to do anything to change any doctrine at all.
right?
Like,
Oh, well, I wasn't saying that Orthodox did or didn't. I was thinking more of the Protestant situation,
I
especially in
mean,
North America, but of
the
course.
way Catholics look at Protestants saying they are mistaken, this is the way Orthodox look at Catholics.
Yes, I'm sure they do. But
We
we have the
see
nicer
Catholics as the
robes.
younger church, the one who used to be also traditional just in opposition, and
Hmm.
now after so many reforms, we see them as just a Western Reformed church, and Protestants are even more changed from the original belief. And it will sound weird to a Catholic saying that
Hmm.
a Catholic church is not original or traditional enough,
Hmm.
but especially
Well,
to a
for
Protestant
Catholics,
who thinks
Vatican
Catholics are
II
too
was a huge
traditional.
deal, and Vatican II didn't have that much that was extraordinary about it. Anyway, sorry, I think I talked over you, Atlan.
No problem. I do that all the time. In Poland, it's completely acceptable to talk over people. It's like, and I
Well,
mean,
see,
I'm not joking. It's actually culturally acceptable to talk over people as long as you don't insult them when you do that.
Mm.
as the next JW, Atlan can back me up on this. The JWs think everybody's a heretic except them.
Mm-mm.
Mm.
Worse.
Worse?
There's like, let's say, here is the truth. Let's assume, right? Here
Uh-huh.
is someone who is oblivious to the truth. You're not correct. You're not going to be saved,
Mm.
but you're going to be given a chance in the afterlife to accept the truth. Here's someone who is wrong. Here's a heretic who spreads wrong ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a blasphemous person who invented new wrong ideas. And at the bottom is someone who knows what is the truth, but tells wrong things anyway, and that's an apostate. I am an apostate.
Like you. Like you,
Because
Atlan.
they cannot accept the idea that someone realizes JWs are not correct, because to them, they are. So if you're convinced they are wrong, after learning so much about it, then you must have made it up.
Mm. What if you? Where would you be on those levels if you made pornographic films portraying horny nuns and priests?
For JWs or Orthodox?
You know who is great with those? The Italians. They make a ton of that stuff.
I'm not gonna watch them because I am asexual and sex repulsed. So,
Right, okay.
but
So if
I
what
must
happens
say,
if you're an
don't take it out
asexual?
of context, please. But I really like nun outfit. It looks really good. I mean, maybe that's because I don't like naked women, and just covering yourself is what makes you good in my eyes.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not saying human body is looking bad. They're just like, on a female body, there are like 4 places that I don't like looking at, very tiny ones. But if you cover the space around them, I don't mind.
All right.
Yeah, that's probably just funny for asexuals.
Maybe you're just
But
kinky in your own way. I think this is what it's coming down to here.
I don't know what you mean, and I don't think I do want to know. In my understanding, God is symbolic of the upper mind, the all-seeing I am.
Well, isn't
I
that
mean,
one of the names of God? I am He who is called I am.
you kind of misquoted that, but yeah, very similar.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I am that I am. Except the JWs, they go totally off the rails on this.
I know.
You want to take it away, Atlan?
I
Yeah,
mean,
take it from the top.
should I go back to the question about JW's view on sex? Because I already said Orthodox protected and
Oh, I'm
celebrated.
sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, let's go
So
back to
we
that.
got very off topic. I'm gonna say that, and then we can go back to JWs and the names of God, because that's fun to talk about, especially as an ex-JW, especially after doing so much research on this. So, going back to the sex view of JWs, they see it as they don't. I would want them to talk to me because I still have friends and family there, but they refuse. So, I mean, I know the feeling, but it's completely different for me. So back to the topic. They think sex in general is a sin, and getting into marriage makes it permissible. It's not celebrated inside marriage. Like, for example, in Orthodox Church, it is completely normal for a man to say, "My wife is great at sex." It's romantic. It's a compliment. It's nice to say such things if she likes it, obviously. JWs will say you're not supposed to talk about it ever. So they restrict it because they say it's better if you are alone and just do work for free for the organization instead. So basically, they will not say that, but the best way to live your life is to abandon all of yourself and live as a pawn for the organization, for the
So
corporation.
basically, they follow Paul in saying, you know what, it's best to be celibate, but if you can't be celibate, go get married, dude. That way you're not sinning.
I mean, in Orthodoxy, it is, I would say Orthodoxy follows Paul on that, but Orthodoxy also embraces marriage because a lot of apostles had wives and they embraced the fact that they loved them and all of that. So it's you shouldn't just pick one guy because he wrote it down and say this is the only truth and anything else doesn't apply at all because it doesn't really help us with our narrative. If, for example, Peter had a wife and he embraced her in every single meaning of that word, then, I mean, you should celebrate it then, because otherwise you're saying that uh, Jesus having friends that celebrated and embraced their wives was wrong because he had sinners as his friends, and not to mention he was friends with prostitutes. Jesus, who is a Christian God, maybe not for JWs. Maybe that's why that's why they don't care.
Hey, if I can interrupt, it's time for me to run out. So thank you for having me, Lisa, and good to meet you
Okay,
out loud.
Zebra,
Bye bye
thank you
now.
for coming on.
It was great meeting you.
Hey,
And
bye
thanks
bye for
for
now.
inviting me in.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hang
no
around
problem.
still if you don't mind.
Yeah, because you got to answer that other question.
Yeah. So JWs have a pretty like I think Lloyd Evans has a nice way to say that they well there is the nice way and the not nice way. The not nice way is they cock block you on every step of the way, even after marriage. Uh, but the nice way he just says they keep you in sexual frustration for years, and they tell you that if you start watching pornography, which even I did, despite being asexual, because I thought it's something wrong is with me for not
Hmm.
wanting that kind of thing. So
Yeah, I
they
did
say
too
that,
for a long time.
yeah. So if you start doing that, they say it's a sin and they don't have confession. But they have this huge doctrine around God punishing people being very wrathful and judgmental. So if you do it as a kid, you have a huge feeling of I'm gonna die now because I cannot know possibly whether it's been forgiven or not. And if you ask God for forgiveness in prayer and then do it again, which in most cases is inevitable at some point, even an accident, because accidents count.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you basically live in this never ending fear that unless, well, Jehovah's Witnesses say it's a good fear. You could compare it to hell, but worse. That's what I
You,
say.
you know, it always bugged me, even when I was a Christian, it always bugged me this idea of good fear. When is fear ever good?
I mean, it helps you survive. That's
And
the
I
instinct.
mean, yeah, I mean, yeah, it kicks in the adrenaline, but I mean, God is supposed to be loving, right? Why on earth are you gonna fear somebody that's supposed to love you? That doesn't make any sense.
It would make sense back in the day when it was written down, because back in the ancient era or in the medieval era, without proper educational systems, if you wanted kid that has no way of learning things other than from you to not kill themselves. You would make them afraid of things that they can be killed by. Like, for example, you tell them, don't go to the woods alone. And they're like, or what? And if you tell them, because you'll die in the woods, and you know you're just going to go there and say, nah, I'm not, and go there. You tell them, I will punch you if you do that. They know you will because you're stronger than them. Like a kid cannot understand danger to a certain age until they learn about it. And if there is no educational system back in the ancient times or in medieval times, the only fear they can get from is from the parent. I know fear is control. Yes, of course. But in order to keep your kids alive back in the day before they could learn about why is it dangerous, because sometimes even you didn't know because you also didn't have proper education most of the time.
Right.
That's back when most religions became a thing. So they adopted the fact that you should fear your parents and listen to them because it's good for you, because you don't die when you listen to them, unless they are literal monsters, which also happens still today, but that's an
Yeah.
exception. I think it's everybody agrees that parents who are literal monsters is an exception and not the rule. And if a parent tells you don't go to the woods or you will die, this is not like fear mongering. It's literally caring about them not dying most of the time.
So, you were gonna talk about the fucked up idea about God's name in the JWs.
Okay, do you want the part that's a conspiracy theory, or do you don't want that part?
I want it all, baby.
Okay, so there is a theory in black magic. Yeah, we're getting there. Yeah, GWs believe in black magic. And
Of
as
course they
opposed,
do.
of course,
That
and as
uh,
opposed to Orthodox, they believe black magic actually works and they fear it. Orthodox people say unless you do like rituals with killing people and stuff, you don't have to fear it. And I think
I,
atheists would say the same. Unless they're literally killing people in a ritual, you don't have to fear it because it doesn't exist.
if I'm not mistaken, the J-Dubs also believe that demons can come out of the television and get you.
Yes.
That's
Orthodox
a
say
weird religion.
it is funny now when I think about it because Orthodox do believe in demons, but demons are like supposed to be the evil spirits that you cannot see in the metaphysical world. Wisdom is self-control. Yes, that's why education is important. Especially if you want to be religious, learn about religions before you commit to it. And especially the one you're about to join, because otherwise you're just gonna be one of the weird people that make everybody believe in this, but they don't know what it is. But back to the question. So black magic has the concept that if there is a demon or any kind of spiritual being, you can connect with them and actually talk to them and either order them around if you know their real name. So since the founder of Jehovah's Witnesses back in the day when they were called Bible students was a Mason, yeah, conspiracy tied to Jehovah's Witnesses. Who would think that a religion that's trying to make conspiracies as their doctrine would be tied to Masonry and black magic?
Okay, I've got a question. I'm sorry to interrupt you for a minute,
Yeah.
but I've heard that pyramid over Russell's, or not over Russell's grave, but near Russell's grave, wasn't always there. Is that just a J Dub post hoc, or is that true?
JWs want to destroy it now. So it doesn't exist, so they can claim it never did.
Oh, of course.
Of course. The cross on it is already missing because they got rid of it long time ago. Of course. I mean, what would you expect otherwise? I mean, the magic that a magician uses nowadays, yeah. And the magic that used to be called ritual magic is just you get You do murder and call it magic. And if it worked, you say you did magic. Don't, don't. that's
Yeah, really.
that's that's worse than Aztecs killing people out of fear that they're all gonna die. It is worse than that, in my opinion.
Okay, so
So,
what's the story behind I will become what I will become or
so the
whatever?
idea of, if you already know about the black magic idea, if I know the name of a spiritual being, I can control them. It was
Right.
the goal of Russell and many different Christians in America during the I mean, the Great Awakening, not the first great, that was what it was, not the disappointment. No, 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 the Great Awakening, right? So,
Gotcha.
sorry, I cannot take this seriously anymore. So he wanted to know the name of God in order to have a real relationship with him. So he opened the Bible. And in many, many translations in English, you can find many different translations of the different Hebrew and Greek names for God. He had different names along centuries. Even according to the Orthodox Church, they say, yeah, he was called El at the beginning, which was just the powerful one. Then he was Elohim, which is powerful one in plural, which was to Christians supposed to be proof of Trinity, but to Jews it was supposed to be he is so powerful that he has many people. And there was a time when Semites believed in many gods, but they fused together to a single one, to united heaven idea, blah, blah, blah. Let's not get into that. If you want to get into that, there is a great channel on YouTube. I think it was called Damien at Hope.
Yeah, I've had him on my channel before, and I even go into El and the Canaanite deities on my channel.
Yeah.
But
So
anyway, go on.
go on. Let's go on. So he had this obsession with getting the name of God right because that would help him get to the truth about afterlife, divine beings, and all of that. Because demons are not enough. You have to get God. Because once you can control God, you're the most powerful being ever. But he became, I don't know how to say it, in the nice way. Jehovah's Witnesses say he became religious. He actually believed in the things he found. Someone who is not a Jehovah's Witness would say he fell for his own lies. Whatever you want to believe in, I actually think he believed in the things he found. That is where my problem with religion begins, believing in things that don't exist in reality. If reality is just the physical world, then yeah. But I agree with Aristotle that there is more. But I think it's even more than Aristotle did. But let's not get into philosophy because it's not about philosophy. You don't have to agree with me. I completely accept people and agree that people have the right to just say, "Yeah, I don't believe in it," and you should have the right to that. Because forcing you to do that is not going to be real belief anyway. So anyway, back to the topic. It's really easy to get distracted and hard to stay on topic. So, punch me in the face whenever I get off topic. Like, turn on your microphone and say, "Feel punched," and I will know what it means.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
But anyway, go on.
So after he was done with I'm gonna control God, and he started feeling like I'm gonna learn about God and be his servant now. So he found all those weird beliefs, but I'm gonna skip on development of JW doctrine and just focus on this one thing. So apparently, in a lot of American Bibles back in the day, a name was used very often, some sort of the word Jehovah. So, as an American would do, that doesn't know any better, and I guess Russell didn't at first. He was like, if it's in the English Bible, that means it's 100% correct. I mean, why should I disbelieve in it? I'm going to believe this is the right name of God. But then new translations came in that had a different name, or that didn't have the name, or that had like Lord instead of it, or kept the original Hebrew Adonai, or kept the original Hebrew H HVY. I don't remember how you spell that in English. Sorry, I have brain fart at the
Um,
moment.
yeah, I mean, Jehovah's not his name because, I mean, J did not exist in
Yeah.
English until.
So that's a thing, first of all. Second thing is when you go into like linguistics and history of linguistics and you go to an earliest document you can find with the word Jehovah on it, which is spelled differently. It's spelled Yehovah with an A, not even an E. Yehovah. It was used in Latin, I mean, not in Hebrew, because for Hebrew it's completely different. In spelling a Yahovah was done by a Spanish Catholic, not even in the Bible. He just wrote like a poem and a bunch of documents. And in order for them to sound better when you read them, instead of using Yahweh or whatever you used back in the day, he said Yahovah because it sounded better in the document and in the poems. And he wrote about why you should kill heretics, obviously. Uh, because a Catholic Spanish dude had to write about something nasty. Not that I hate Catholics. Uh, so so yeah, they skipped that part, and they skipped the part that in Latin that was when it was first used unironically. Before that, translators simply used translated letters from Hebrew, which Jews were writing either with an E and O and I, like uh, from the word Elohim. No, wrong. I'm wrong. Sorry. I will correct myself before I do a mistake. Hashem.
I think
So
you mean. I think you mean Adonai.
no, nah, that's a different thing. So there was a word for
Okay.
Hashem. So you would use a and in the tetragrammation of of God's name, in order to signify that instead of saying God's name, you just say Hashem, which means the highest above all names. That's what that word is supposed to mean. And the other one was obviously Adonai, which you still wrote the tetragrammation, which is no like A, O, just the H and Y and V and stuff. So you still wrote those letters, but you wrote A O A. So every Jew knows instead of saying some kind of mispronunciation of God's name, you just say Adonai. But when a Christian that didn't know Jewish tradition was translating it from Hebrew to Greek, they just wrote Yahovah because that makes sense for a Greek who doesn't know Hebrew traditions about not reading the word that's actually written. Uh, so that was a mistranslation. And to a Christian, it doesn't really matter, the early Christian, because, well, uh, it wasn't the only name and it wasn't the correct one anyway. And God has a new name anyway, Jesus or Yeshu or whatever you pronounced it as. But to Jehovah's Witnesses, it's like, this is the only true name. The mispronunciation of God's name is the only correct pronunciation of God's name, and we're going to use it forever because it's the only correct one.
Yeah, and what really gets me is Lloyd Evans said a few years ago, they even came out and said, yeah, Jehovah's not his name.
At some point, they were like, yeah,
What?
Jehovah's not his name because originally it was obviously pronounced different because we're not ancient Jews, but we're still using it because that's the one used in English language. And then they do this smile.
Which doesn't make a lick of sense, but okay.
No. So my question would be, so Americans have their own one true name for God. Polish people have a second one true name of God. Russian people have a third one true name of God. Chinese people have a fourth one true name of God.
Right.
And you could do it
Exactly.
for every single language. And I'm like, I mean, if God makes a separate one true name for every single language, I mean, you could always say that any mispronunciation of his name, or if I say ha ha ha, that's his name in a language I just made up, and that's one true name of God in that language that I just made up. And it's going to count apparently because every language was made up by a person at some point, by a group of people at some point. So
Yeah.
if you made up a language and make a name of God, like, okay, that's going to be a story from my childhood. I'm going to make it as brief as possible.
Sure. Go ahead.
I did make languages since I was a kid for imaginary races and aliens I made up as a kid and stuff. I made languages for them because I was a nerd. Don't judge me. Every
No, no,
time,
no judgment here.
every time I included the name of God in that language because I was really convinced that every language has to have the name of God in it in one way or another. The one true name of God. And when I stopped being a Jehovah's Witness and I started playing D&D, that's going to be funny because I named the one true God the Forgotten God. And that's his name. Just to poke fun at my old self.
Yeah. But you know, another thing that gets me about the J Dubs is, you know, Russell back before they were known as the J Dubs. Russell said something about we're never going to ask for money because at the time when the person who says all the gold in the mountain is mine or some shit like that um, fails to provide for us, we'll we'll know it's time to shut the door, right? And then
I
this
remember
idiot,
that.
and then this idiot Stephen Lett gets on. I think it was the annual meeting, maybe it was the convention, I don't know. And he goes, "Please give us money," and I'm like, "What the fuck?"
And he was like, the very next time, he was like, we're not begging for money. We're just talking about money. So let me just tell you about the money we don't have and we would need it.
Yeah, and it's like, and whose fault is it that you have more money going out than coming in? Have you ever heard of a budget?
Have you ever like I'm not gonna you it might sound like a joke, but our priest likes to say that his wife is better at handling money, so she does it instead of him in our church most of the time. And before he makes a purchase, he asks her whether they have enough money because he's not good in it. And there's no shame in that. But I guess if you're literally supposed to command God's army that kills everyone on earth who didn't listen to you, you cannot go so low as to get people to do things for you, such as taking care of funds and deciding what to buy and what to sell. And then you have problems like people funding building a new building, for example, in a country that's poor and wouldn't afford it by the community, like, for example, a kingdom hall for Jehovah's Witnesses. And after it's built, turns out there's no money to keep it like still working and all of that. So they just sell it with additional, like, with they earn from it because unpaid workers made it, volunteers. So you sell it with huge profits because you only buy the land, then you build it, only pay for the materials, don't pay for the hours, don't pay for the food. It's all provided by the volunteers. And then you sell it with a huge profit, including the thing that a regular building company would profit from anyway. So you have additional profits from not having to pay for people. And I don't mind if people do that by themselves. Like if you do it for like, but it's the fact that they do it for the community and they believe it's going to be a place where we can hide or where we can meet. It's going to be awesome. So let's build it together. I'm going to bring us food. It's going to be awesome. I don't need payment. I'm going to use it anyway. It's going to be fun. And then it's sold and it becomes a shop or something. And you visit the shop and you're like, so I build it, so I have to pay for everything I do in here.
Yep.
Great.
But isn't it funny that most of the new quote unquote kingdom halls look a lot like banks?
You touched a weird subject. I mean, I'm going to tell you even funnier thing. There was a time when every single African kingdom hall looked like a Protestant church. Spoiler alert, a lot of them are now owned by Protestant churches, which paid a lot of money for them.
Wait a minute. Okay, so the Jehovah's Witnesses call Christendom the beast or
Yes.
something like that, right? So
Yes.
then so then they're selling their fucking kingdom halls to the beast? What sense does that make? Oh,
I'm
I
gonna
I forgot it's money. When it comes to
I'm
money,
gonna
it doesn't
say
matter.
the dumb thing I know I would say as a JW. Profiting off of the evil is good. Like if you scam people who are evil, it's good. Not if you do it personally, but if the governing body does it, it's good.
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't, but it does, but it doesn't, but it does. And you believe it does, or you die at Armageddon when God kills you and Stephen Lett comes with a sword that is made of fire and burns you to death.
Oh, and Tony Morris comes on his on
With
his
his
uh
like
on
atomic
it
bomb shooter.
yeah, on his white horse with the lance in one hand and McAllen's in the other.
Atomic lance in one hand and never ending alcohol beverage in the other, which doesn't make you drunk anymore because you cannot be sinning in heaven, but you can drink alcohol in heaven. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's Jesus juice, right? It's Jesus juice, so you're gonna get drunk anyway, you know?
And it's weird how Jehovah's Witnesses like to go on about how they never get drunk because it's forbidden. And they can go on and on and on and on and on.
Then how come they have drunks in the in because they have drunks in the organization. Uh, Case in point, Tony Morris.
Because officially, those were rumors, and he promised we will never hear about them again.
By the way, if nobody knows what I'm talking about in my chat, go to Lloyd Evans' channel and Bottlegate.
And
It's hilarious.
about the thing that Cryptamelia and Lisa Irwin are talking about, the crypts and huge bong vaults in churches and like kingdom halls of Jehovah's Witnesses look like. I've been in the crypt of my church. I can tell you exactly what is inside of there. And I wish there was gold. There's a shovel, a toilet, a shovel, a toilet, and like a ladder. What is the wine, the blood of Christ? Because Christ, before he died, had wine with his 12 best friends. And he said, "This is my blood now. And repeat this ritual in the name of me, of my name, in my name." So this is why we believe in that. But if you don't
So,
believe in God, then the answer for you is just because Christ had a bottle of wine with his friends before dying, or Jesus had a bottle of wine with friends before dying and said, "This is my blood." And everybody was like, "This is his blood, yeah, forever and ever. And we will never
so
forget about it."
that brings me to another question I have. Do
No.
Orthodox believe in transubstantiation?
Ah, that's a complicated topic. But since you asked, I'm going to answer. Simple answer is no. And the hard answer is we don't believe it because we believe the explanation of the Catholic Church is wrong and it infringes on the right of God. Because we believe that a man cannot say that a miracle happens when it didn't, and when it does, a man cannot determine or say or order it to happen in a certain way. Because we believe that it is a thing called, we believe that there is real presence, like the wine becomes blood of Christ, and the the bread becomes his flesh, but we don't believe like it becomes that way physically, because it's obviously not becoming blood of a human and piece of meat of a human, and it doesn't taste that way, and it's not supposed to.
Yeah, I
But we
mean,
do
that makes
believe.
sense. It becomes that symbolically.
No, that's a big difference. We don't believe it's symbolical. We believe that Christ is actually present inside of the bowl, or I don't know how you call it, the thing you put wine inside, the chalice. Oh yeah. We believe he is actually present there, and this wine, this food now serves as his body. So he is not a human this time. This time he's a food that he wants us to eat, and he is with us present, watching us eat it with a spoon, because Orthodox do it civilly, with a civilized manner, like you use a spoon to eat stuff, because it's not
Okay.
meat. You eat bread, it's still physically bread, and you just eat it. It's just that he wants you to do that because you get like a piece of God inside of you. It is my religious right to make fun of the monarchy. And it is my religious right to make fun of democracy. And beyond religious right, you can just make fun of democracy, because democracy is not only about the religious rights. So I have the right to make fun of democracy.
Well, I mean, she can do that because technically Canada is part of the. Correct me if I'm wrong, Cryptomeria, but Canada is part of the federation that makes up the United Kingdom. Is that correct? It's not
Also,
technically part of the United Kingdom, right? But
Lisa
it is.
Irwin, when it
Uh,
comes to beer for Christ, you'd be surprised. Let's not just leave it at that. You can continue. Sorry.
so, Crypta, are you loosely affiliated with the United Kingdom? Because I know you're not technically a part of the United Kingdom, but isn't there like a special relationship between you and the UK?
You mean the Anglican Church or Canada?
Canada.
Oh,
Yeah, she
okay.
lives in
So I
Canada.
have a special thing for that kind of conversation. Allow me to use it.
Uh huh.
Wait a moment. Go on.
So, okay, so you're part of the Commonwealth. Is that it? You're part of the Commonwealth of the UK? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Sorry, I'm not gonna make jokes such low and
Oh, that's
childish on
okay.
your channel. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I just want to make sure I get this right, Cryptomeria. Because I know Canada's like its own country, but I don't know. I the UK's always been kind of weird to me, you know?
Also, if I may, Lisa is asking me why I want to eat a Jew, because I am one and they refuse the right for myself to call myself a Jew because I'm a Christian. So by joining part of God, who is a Jew, I can become a Jew that way. If that's the only way applicable for me, I'm gonna take it.
Okay, thank you, Cryptomeria. I thought it was something like that, but I wasn't sure.
Does eating fake flesh have any relevance to God being the creator of everything? I don't get it. It has more relevance to Christ wanting us to join him in godhood after death. But it's completely alien idea in the West, and I don't want to explain it because most people here are atheists anyway, and nobody cares about theosis because you don't believe there is a God, so you wouldn't believe you can join God because that makes no sense. If you don't believe it exists, then how can you join it? Obviously. So I'm not gonna explain things that don't matter to people. But thanks for the question. I actually like your view. You're not like you're one of the like Lisa, not just you two, but her. You just make good questions, and you're not like insulting people, and I respect those kinds of people. You're just making good questions that would have to be answered, and if you don't get satisfying answers, don't believe in it. That is the right way to go.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me at
Thank you
Larky.
for inviting me. I'm very happy I could be here.
Hey, no problem. You know, I think I'm going to go now. So, everyone have a good day. Please
Yes.
like, subscribe if you can, and only if you can. Please join the channel. You can join for as little as 99 cents a month. And, I should have a video out for my members sometime today. I'm almost finished with it. It's another John Pendleton debunk, and that will be available to everyone on Tuesday. So, everyone have a great day, and I'll
And
see you
don't
guys.
make Lisa angry when she reads the Bible. She's angry enough.
Oh, I know, I know.
And before we go, if I
It's
may say
just
one
my.
thing,
Uh huh.
it keeps being brought up by everyone, especially people who left religion. Who had the idea, the weird idea, I don't get it, that the Bible, especially in the like pure version, uncensored version, is a book for children to read?
Well, I mean, I wonder that myself because it clearly isn't. It should have an R like
Yes, this
on the
is exactly
cover.
why like lessons in Orthodox Church for children, they don't just hand you the Bible and say read it, because you're gonna see a lot of violence in it and evil things, and that's supposed to be there. So no, you're gonna be told tales of good people at first and follow their example at first, and you don't have to like try to make sense of why did David's son did all of those evil things as a child, because a child shouldn't have to think about those things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
anyway.
thanks for coming, everyone. Have a wonderful uh day, and I'll see you soon.
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me in.
Sure.
Have a
Bye.
great day, everyone. Bye.